Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In the last couple of videos we've had a look at the different airline options in the Boeing 737 and I've explained the options in detail in a long video, but I noticed that apparently for some of you it's been a little bit too long. So I have already published a video of what a brand new Boeing 737 NG, so one of the latest in the production, would look like, and in this video we're going to look like what one of the first production models would actually look like. So let's head right into it. We'll start off with the equipment option. Initially there's only been the Honeywell MCP available, and the wings would go level after takeoff. The heading select option was only added later on. Glass slope capture before localizer, that's really something that airlines could choose from right from the beginning, and it had to be a fail passive autoland aircraft because the MCP, the Honeywell MCP, does not support fail operational autoland capability. Engine double D rate, yep, that's probably been available. Data link option, well, what's data link? V1 callout, no. Bank angle callouts, yeah, they would have been available for airlines to choose from. Now, approaching minimums and minimums call, that's really all stuff that the operator has to decide on. The smart options for the altitude callouts would not have been available, so you have to pick something else. Airspeed low oral is also only a new aircraft, and the same goes for the terrain peaks mode. Now, if you don't know what that is, the terrain peaks mode, when turned off, is basically not going to show you any terrain when you're more than 2,500 feet above it. Going on, dual battery package, I believe that one has also not been available initially. And of course, maximum fixed page is 2, since the computer wasn't quite as fancy, and descent underspeed margin is unchanged. Going on then, we have the instruments, and that would definitely be the analog standby instruments, and the yaw damper gauge would also have been on. Now the head-up guidance system was available rather early on, but the majority of airlines did not order it. So this is what the standby instruments then look like. Going on a bit further, performance improvement no, short field no, auto propede no, and for the brakes, I would probably recommend to go with steel brakes, even though as far as I'm aware, carbon brakes have been added rather early in the 737's life cycle. So, external lights, definitely original. Eyebrow windows, yes. Even though the option to cover out the eyebrow windows has been added rather early on. So, if you're looking for an early production model, chances could still be that it has the eyebrow windows covered. Cutout switches, for sure the old school style. So, this is the difference you have there. Wi-Fi antenna, well, what's Wi-Fi? And of course no auto ignition either. Looking at the displays then, well, this is of course highly airline dependent, but display type, we have PFD-ND available over here, and many of the first 737 NGs delivered had the EFIS map style layout because their operators would have flown the 737 Classics, and if the instrument looked kind of similar, that would make it a lot easier for the pilots. Now in the present version of the PMDG, the EFIS map layout is not available. Hopefully it will become available after software update 10 of Microsoft Flight Simulator is released. Going on then, basically options like rising runway or the navigation performance scales, pitch limit indicator, that would all not have been available, neither would the AOA dial. Round radio altimeter, that would have been available, and indeed that was installed on many of the first production models. Going on, landing altitude bar, I believe that one's been available. 2500 feet alert, low airspeed alert, and the flight path vector heading scale would not be available. EFIS map options, nothing we can do in here. The track up display, as far as I know, was, but the VSD most certainly not. Range arcs, depending on the airline, so is the show next altitude constraint and the VOR course lines. Going on then, on the ND options here we don't need to change anything. Engine side-by-side display, Well, that was actually installed in a few of the older 737 NGs that still had the PFD-ND style instruments. For sure it would have been installed in any of the EVIS map style aircraft. The very first production aircraft also did not have the low oil quantity and high vibration alerts, but very shortly thereafter they have been added, so we'll go with it. And I will also deselect the engine side-by-side display, because initially the aircraft has been developed with the let's call it known style of the upper DU in mind, and that already leads us to the next page. Mach 17 thrust box and show reference N1, operator dependent, and old aircraft always had the old style fuel indicators, FCS indicator and brake temperature indicator usually no. And that basically summarizes an old school 737 NG, one of the first models that would have left the production line. So, of course, there is some stuff like the weather radar. This is a rather modern weather radar interface, which would not have been available in the old school NGs, but at the moment we don't have airline options available to change that. So, this is basically it, the old school style Boeing 737 NG as you would have seen it in the late 1990s and the early 2000s. Hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a comment, subscribe to the channel and like the video. And if you really appreciate what I'm doing here, I would love a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for joining, hope you enjoyed this one, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.